Coming up on tonight's broadcast, a death in the OSU community, a marijuana rally,
new statistics in regards to illegal immigration, a local weather forecast, and a sports update. All that and more right here on the Beaver News.
Good evening and welcome to your Tuesday night edition of the Beaver News. I hope everybody's been having a fabulous day so far. I'm Hayden Wilcox.
And I'm Joseph Hedberg.
We opened tonight's news on a sad note. Tragedy occurred yesterday as 20-year-old Lauren Snow was found dead in her sorority early Monday afternoon. The Alpha Chi Omega member was a psychology major whose death, as suspected by authorities, occurred sometime over the weekend. The Corvallis Police Department is currently investigating the events leading up to her death, but believe that there is no reason to suspect any criminal behavior. Further examination of the cause of death will be left up to the state's medical examiner office. If you have any information relating to the case, we encourage you to please contact Corvallis Police Department.
Living in a small town, it's just a shock that you think something like this just can't happen.
Our sincere condolences go out to Lauren and her family and her friends.
Oregon State Central Cultural Cesar Chavez began in 1972 with just 9 students who met each week in the basement of Milam Hall. It wasn't until 1976 that they got their own building on campus. A year later, they moved to their current location across the street from Gill Coliseum, and 40 years later, the center is still thriving. It's their annual Cesar Chavez Tribute Month, a celebration not only of the labor leader and activist who is Central's namesake, but also the Latino culture in the U.S. and elsewhere. Central's annual Tribute Month dinner on April 22nd will kick off Mi Familia weekend, a new event introduced Latino families to the Oregon State community.
Last Wednesday, Jay Michelson arrived on campus to speak to ideas in his new book, God vs. Gay, The Religious Case for Equality. The author and LGBT community member presented his main ideas behind his book, making a case for why religion and homosexuality should not be in conflict. As reported by Katja Kosber of the Daily Barometer, Michelson spoke to how biblical passages can be interpreted many different ways, and that the idea of an all-loving God hating homosexuals doesn't make any sense. Michelson hopes that his presentation will inspire a greater understanding of these issues and help reduce aggression towards the LGBT community.
Every year, the fraternities and sororities, as well as co-ops, organize a philanthropy known as Greek Week. Greek Week is a celebration of Greek life and all of its positive contributions to the OSU and Corvallis community. By providing an atmosphere and encouraging broad participation, Greek Week invites people from all backgrounds to join an environment emphasized on equality, fun, education, and egalitarianism. Views of the Greek community, according to Kayan Derahi, president of Sigma Chi fraternity, Greek Week is a philanthropy run by the entire Greek community. It is one of the few times where IFC fraternities, Pan-Hellenic sororities, and UGC chapters can all get together as one community. This year they are raising money for community outreach to help fight homelessness.
Last week, we discussed the campus-wide game of humans versus zombies, and tonight we are returning to that story with a follow-up story. This last weekend marked the final mission of the week-long game, which posed all current humans against all current zombies in a timed match. I am pleased to report that after a long battle, the humans emerged victorious in this season, marking the first time since the game's beginning that the humans have survived the zombie horde. The game has been on campus for nearly 3 years, and this season will bring OSU Humans vs. Zombies scoreboard to Humans 1, Zombies 5.
For those of you students who enjoy the outdoors, with the spring here and summer just around the corner, it's about time to dust off your fishing poles and replenish your tackle box. The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, ODFW for short, is reporting local ponds and lakes are being stocked with trout. Last week, E.E. Wilson Pond in Adair Village was stocked with 2,000 legal-sized trout, 300 larger trout, and 25 trophy fish. Waverly Lake in Albany was stocked with 750 legal trout and 50 larger. Timberland Lake was stocked with 750 legal trout and 25 larger sized trout. And Freeway Lakes was stocked with 800 legal trout and 100 larger trout. For more information, go to odfw.com and click the trout stocking and find Willamette Zone South for the complete stocking schedule.
For the second time this year, the Associated Students of OSU have failed to present enough members of the House to conduct official business. The meeting was supposed to be held Thursday at 7 p.m., but was canceled after 15 minutes because 9 members of the House of Representatives were unaccounted for, including presidential nominee Drew Hatlin. However, as reported by Don Eiler of the Daily Barometer, Hatlin made it clear to ASOSU that he would be unable to attend usual meetings in April because of his campaign. Kevin Dunn, replacing Hatlin for the evening, described the meeting as just bad luck. Reporter Brittany Greenfield was able to sit down with Amelia Harris and Dan Cushing, one of the tickets for ASOSU president and vice president. We go to that report now.
With the ASOSU presidential elections right around the corner, I met with presidential hopeful Amelia Harris and vice presidential running mate Dan Cushing to learn why they feel they're the right choice for Oregon State University. Tell us a little bit about your backgrounds.
Well, I am currently from Portland, Oregon. I am studying history and philosophy and minoring in Spanish. And currently I work as the Executive Director of Services in ASOSU. And last year I worked in the Human Services Resource Center to provide students emergency housing. And 2 years ago I was an intern in ASOSU and I organized a vote drive.
My name is Dan Cushing. I'm currently a senator here in the ASOSU. Before that, I was in the House of Representatives, and I was also vice president for recruitment for my fraternity, Sigma Phi Epsilon. I'm from little old Sherwood, Oregon, which is near Portland, and I'm currently studying political science and philosophy, minoring in Spanish.
Tell us about your guys' platform.
We're running off of Growing Together Leadership with Integrity, and we have 7 priority issues that we're focusing on for this next year. So our first priority issue is plateauing rising tuition and increasing student aid.
Another important priority issue is extending the safety and accessibility on this campus. And all of our priorities have to do with bridging the divide between students and among student groups. So one of the important parts of our campaign for us are taking ASOSU to the students. And so that means soliciting feedback from students on a regular basis and also holding town hall gatherings in different parts of campus and trying to increase our visibility for those students who traditionally have had no idea what ASOSU is or how it can help them.
Why do you guys feel you're the best choice for ASOSU president and vice president?
Between the two of us, we have the collective experience to lead this university and our student government. So coming from the executive branch, Amelia has years of experience navigating the administration with Oregon State and that complex, very intricate bureaucracy. And with me, I have that experience in the Senate and in the House of Representatives for 3 years now. So if we're elected, I'll be the president of the Senate, which will be very important in bridging that divide between and among the branches of the government. That is the executive, the legislative, and then there's the judicial branch, which we also hope to enliven and recommission for better goals.
What makes us unique is that we have the commitment to student fees staying low. We, as Executive Director of Services, I made sure that the legal advising office didn't approve themselves on pay increases when they weren't necessary. And I think that eye for detail and for commitment to making sure that we're being as careful with our student fees as possible will take ASOSU to the next level and make us more, make the university and ASOSU a better place for students.
Polling for the general election is slated to open at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, April 25th, and the polls will close at 10 p.m. on Friday, April 27th. This has been Brittany Greenfield reporting for KBVR News. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Brittany. Remember, voting starts tomorrow and will continue until Friday. Jared Baker didn't wait till he graduated from OSU Cascades to put his business degree to work. An avid skateboarder, he saw increasing numbers of scooters at Bend skateboarding parks and recognized a market opportunity. OSU Cascades reports that in a venture management course in September 2011, Baker developed a business plan for War Scooters, an outline retailer of scooter parts, accessories, and in just 3 weeks, He soon rang up his first sales, and by Christmas, he was up until midnight packing orders while also completing the last term of school. War Scooters has since quadrupled its growth projections.
What a great example of one student finding an untapped market and turning that into a career. On Monday, May 7th, Oregon State University will be holding a Socratic seminar based upon the topic of whether Christianity is anti-science. Professor of Biochemistry and Biophysics here at OSU will be discussing how Christianity is supportive of science, while Victor Stenger of the University of Colorado and the University of Hawaii will be presenting the cases of how Christianity is hostile towards science. The university reports that the seminar is free to the public and will begin at 7 p.m.
In 1940, Sala Garnsosh, a 16-year-old Polish Jew, was sent to a labor camp, the first of 7, where she was enslaved during World War II. Although she survived the war, many of her closest friends and family members, including her parents and 3 siblings, perished in the Holocaust. Garnsosh's survival is in itself remarkable, but even more remarkable is the fact that she was able to hide and protect more than 300 letters that she received while in the camps. Many years later, Garnsosh, by then a mother and grandmother, gave this collection of letters to her daughter, Anne. The exhibit at the Benton County Public Library will highlight many of these letters and will also include photos and information on the Holocaust, on Garnsosh's own wartime experiences. This is the final week to take a look at this true piece of history.
Well, we're going to go into our first short break of the evening, but don't go away because when we return, we'll have a look at your national news as well as a look at your local forecast. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Beaver News, right here on KBVR. Sustainable ranching means taking care of scarce water supplies and fragile desert grasses. Parched streams, erosion, and invasive plants pose threats to ranchers' livelihoods and productive ecosystems. For more than 30 years, Oregon State's rangeland scientists have been working with Central Oregon ranchers to test the effects of removing juniper and managing grass and cattle. The results have contributed to a successful beef co-op, Country Natural Beef, that has become an industry leader in sustainable ranching. The co-op's founding Hatfield and McCormick families have opened their ranches as living laboratories for faculty and student researchers. Their work has given researchers a holistic understanding of the watershed, helping them improve their grazing strategies, maintain a healthy ecosystem, and deliver high-quality, hormone-free beef to Whole Foods and other grocery stores and restaurants throughout the western United States.
A high school teacher in Portland has been suspended after allegedly using the N-word in class. The teacher in question, Mr. Miller, currently teaches history at Lincoln High School in Portland. Due to this infraction, Mr. Miller was forced to take a leave of absence from teaching, which has been clarified and defended by Principal Peyton Chapman in a letter to student families. Nevertheless, students are outraged by their teacher's punishment and are currently protesting to promote his quick return to the classroom.
For the first time since its release, The Hunger Games lost its top spot at the box office over the weekend. Instead, the comedy Think Like a Man took over the top spot, earning over $33 million. In second place was the new release, The Lucky One, which stars Zac Efron as a former Marine who served 3 tours in Iraq and is now trying to find a woman who he felt kept him alive while he served his country. The film was adapted from the Nicholas Sparks book. The Hunger Games took third place over the weekend, but with a sequel in the works to come out next year, there's no telling how well this franchise will do.
Authorities at the University of Colorado successfully thwarted a marijuana movement this weekend. And on our 420, the universal calling card for marijuana users, many students had attempted to plan a public smoke-out. Students had planned on gathering in the university's quad to light up in honor of the day. However, school authorities were alerted to the event and took precautionary measures to ensure this would not happen. CNN reports that state troopers and campus police members were stationed around the campus, and with the exception of 3 students, no one was arrested and the event was peacefully disbanded. We've been lucky enough to have the past few days be pretty sunny, but to see if that trend is going to stick around, we're going to go to Cassidy Gilroy with the weather. Cassidy?
Good evening, Covals. My name is Cassidy Gilroy, and I shall be bringing you your 5-day forecast. Tuesday, the sun will continue to shine with a high of 66 degrees and a low of 52 degrees. Unfortunately, the rain is back on Wednesday with a high of 63 degrees and a low of 46 degrees. And it will continue on to Thursday with a high of 55 degrees and a low of 43 degrees. But keep your hopes up, because on Friday, the sun should return with a high of 57 degrees and a low of 46 degrees. But on Saturday, cloudy skies once again with a high of 61 degrees and a low of 46 degrees. And there you have it. I'm Cassidy Gilroy, and that has been your 5-day forecast for this week.
Hopefully everyone was able to enjoy the sun while it lasted, because the next few days look a bit rainy. In some surprising entertainment news, actress Lindsay Lohan will be playing Hollywood icon Elizabeth Taylor in a Lifetime Network movie. CNN is reporting that the movie, titled Liz and Dick, is based on her marriage to Richard Burton. Though many people feel the role of this caliber is too much for Lindsay, who has had her troubled past, the executive vice president of programming for the Lifetime Network stands behind the casting choice. The biopic is set to begin filming in June.
76 people were arrested yesterday while protesting the recent cuts in Medicaid as proposed by the House Republican leadership. The protest was organized by Americans with Disabilities for Attendant programs and consisted of hundreds of people, all bringing attention to the cuts and to convince Chairman Paul Ryan to provide the elderly with alternate options to nursing homes. As reported by CNN, currently Medicaid, a healthcare provider which focuses on the elderly, is mandating that its members eventually go to a retirement home. Members of ADAPT were arrested on charges of unlawful conduct and demonstrating on a Capitol building.
We are heading into our final break of the evening, but stay tuned because we still have a look at national and international stories as well as a sports update. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Beaver News right here on KBVR. In our continuation of the Secret Service scandal, CNN reports that a total of 24 men have had connection to the Colombian prostitution incident. The men, 12 from the Secret Service and 12 from the military, have brought shame to the 150-year record of the Secret Service and have embarrassed White House officials, to say the least. While legally they have done nothing wrong, the country of Colombia allows prostitution, the men are now being faced with the internal regulation and discipline associated with their acts. As of yet, 6 men of the Secret Service group have voluntarily resigned, and more are to be expected.
With Newt Gingrich dropping out of the race to become the Republican presidential nominee, it appears Mitt Romney has all but won the race. However, the question still looms: who will be his choice for vice president? The Washington Post named 9 men and Governor Susan Martinez of New Mexico as top 10 picks. The Fiscal Times included Governor Nikki Haley of South Carolina as one of the top 7 names, and Fox News offered 9 men and 2 women as plausible running mates. It will be interesting to see if Romney will choose a seasoned politician or an unknown to be his running mate, as John McCain did in 2008 when he chose Sarah Palin.
North Korea continues to be in the news this week as the country has made an official threat against the president of South Korea and his cabinet. As reported by CNN, the North Koreans announced that the operation to terminate South Korean President Lee Myung-bak would take all of 3 to 4 minutes to execute, but did not explain what kind of action would be taken. Over the past week, South Korean military has announced that it has developed a missile that can hit any target in all of North Korea, which some speculate could be the prompt for this threat.
A new study is showing that illegal immigration from Mexico to the United States is steadily decreasing. CNN reports that the 1.37 million Mexican immigrants who came to the United States between 2005 and 2010 was about half the number who immigrated during previous 5-year periods, according to the analysis, which was based on a national population survey in the United States and Mexico. Meanwhile, from 2005 to 2010, 1.39 million Mexicans and their families left the U.S. to return to Mexico. That's more than double the number than did so during the 5-year period the decade before. The report says, also, citing figures from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, that the number of Mexicans apprehended trying to cross the border illegally has plummeted in recent years, from more than 1 million in 2005 to 286,000 in 2011.
Two state-mandated companies have suddenly terminated their contract with Israel and are no longer supplying the country with gasoline or natural gas. The two companies, Egyptian General Petroleum Company and the Natural Gas Holding Company, are drawing legal attention as the governments decide whether a move like this is even legal. Nevertheless, CNN reports that Egypt and Israel both see this issue as a business problem between companies and not an issue between governments. Oh, now we now go to Joe with a look at today's sports. Joe?
After a series win over the University of Washington this past weekend, the Oregon State softball team will take a quick break from conference competition to play a couple makeup games against Portland State University. The games were originally scheduled for early March but were postponed due to wet weather conditions. OSU will face the Vikings in a doubleheader today at the OSU softball complex beginning at 2 p.m. In exciting news for Beaver baseball, Oregon State pitcher Jace Fry has been named the Pac-12 Pitcher of the Week. Fry threw his first career shutout on Saturday in the Beavers' 3-0 win over then number 11 UCLA. He scattered 6 hits and 2 walks while striking out 6, limiting the Bruins to 1 runner at third the entire game. That runner was thrown out at home plate attempting to score from second on an infield single. He needed just 107 pitches for his 4th win of the season, lowering his earned run average to 2.23. The Beaverton, Oregon native has allowed just 3 earned runs in 30 1/3 innings in the month of April, amounting to an ERA of 0.89. Congratulations, Jace. And now let's take a look at this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. Last night, the number 3 Phoenix Coyotes eliminated the number 6 Chicago Blackhawks 4-2. This is the first time the Coyotes have gotten a series win since their move to Phoenix. SportsIllustrated.com is also reporting that the semifinal round of the Western Conference has been set, with the Phoenix Coyotes playing the Nashville Predators and the St. Louis Blues playing the Los Angeles Kings. Only one team has advanced to the semis in the Eastern Conference at this time. Currently, the Florida Panthers are tied with the New Jersey Devils in overtime in their Game 6 series. And that's your sport.
All right, thanks, Joe. That's all the news we have for you tonight, but be sure to check in with us tomorrow at 7 p.m. with more of your local, national, international news. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.
Have a good night, everybody.